With over 8,000 locations, should you own a Dunkin' Donuts franchise? But here's an even better question. How much do they cost to get open? How much money do they make? And is it still a good investment? That is exactly what we're going to answer in today's video. If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, where we have helped hundreds of individuals find, vet, and launch proven money-making franchises. All right, so before we jump into the startup costs and how much money these locations are making, let's go back and understand how Dunkin' Donuts even got their start. It was actually founded in 1950. 1950, guys. I want you to think about this for a second, because everyone and their mom nowadays, they want to make money right away in a business. They're like, I want to start a business and I want to replace my income in year one. I want to build this empire in year two, year three. Guys, the biggest brands that we see every day have been around for 50, 60, 70 years. The most powerful lesson in business is time compounded. Anyway, so this guy, William Rosenberg, 1950, he originally opened up something called Open Kettle. So that's what it was called. Imagine if you just saw open kettles everywhere around. It's not quite as catchy, right? So in 1955, just 5 years after his start, he actually rebranded to the name Dunkin' Donuts. It's so much catchier. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking about the lesson of that it's okay to pivot. It's okay to make different decisions as you're going about starting your business. Sometimes you got to change the logo. Sometimes you got to change the name. And actually, again, just a few years ago, Dunkin' Donuts pivoted away from donuts, dropping the donuts and rebranding just to Dunkin' because they wanted to be known more for their beverages and not just a donut shop. And one of the things that's interesting about Dunkin' is that they were one of the first coffee chains to actually offer self-service coffee stations. So years ago, this wasn't a thing. I mean, you'd go up to the counter, someone would fill up your coffee. You didn't have these self-service coffee stations. So they started to do things different, and that was part of what set them apart, as well as being an innovator in the drive-through space for coffee. There wasn't really a large presence of coffee shops doing that at that time. Let's talk about startup cost. How much money would it cost you if you wanted to go out there and open your own Dunkin' Donuts? Well, it depends. It depends on if you're going to do a freestanding drive-through location, right? You've seen those in the shopping centers. Or if you're going to do what's called an inline unit, right? Inline is when you're just in a shopping center and you're next to other spots and there's no drive-through. You're just, in line in the shopping center. So a freestanding restaurant, that's going to set you back about $526,000 to $1.8 million to get up and open. If you're looking at being in line in a shopping center, you're talking about between $437,000 and $1.33 million. And then for gas station and convenience store locations, we're looking at between $210,000 and just over $1 million. And in terms of royalties, they charge 5.9% for royalties. Actually, it can be reduced all the way down to 1.9% depending upon different incentives that they have. Why they wouldn't just charge 6% instead of 5.9%, I don't know. It's so interesting. Maybe because they're used to charging $1.99 for, well, actually anything. But why not just charge 6%? Most of the competitors out there will just say, hey, we charge 5, we charge 6. They said, we want to charge 5.9% to trick you into thinking that you're paying less on your royalties. It's not working, Dunkin'. We know it's basically 6%. Anyways, their advertising fee is actually 5% of their sales. And so again, in these big name franchises, you're going to pay a lot more in an advertising fund. Why? Because they're spending tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every year doing commercials, on billboards, doing brand deals, driving people into these stores. So you're going to pay for it. So in terms of sales, how much money are these bad boys making? Before we get into that, I actually did a video. I actually have a friend who has owned over 30 Dunkin' Donuts franchises, and he has a pretty significant operation. So we actually sat down and did a full podcast episode diving into what his journey has been to getting to own all of those Dunkin' Donuts locations, how he grew his portfolio, different pros and cons about owning all of those different Dunkin' Donuts. So if you want to watch that video, we will drop a link down below so you can check out that entire podcast. In terms of average sales, so based on 2024 performance, we can see that all restaurants combined have average sales of $1.3 million, at least for what's disclosed in the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. And we can see that the bottom quartile, right, the bottom 25% of owners, they only average about $646,000 in sales. The next quartile up about $1 million in sales. The next one, $1.4 million in sales. And the top quartile does just over $2 million in sales. Hey, so I recently put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that make $1 million or more. If you want to see that list, then click the link below in the description or go to franchiseempire.com/low cost. Let's get back to the episode. Dunkin' Donuts, in their FDD, they actually list some other graphs that show some interesting performance numbers. They show by region and division, like if you're in the northwest or if you're in the northeast of the United States or if you're in the south, it actually shows the average performance of stores based on what region they're in. If you were to just take a guess on which regions perform the lowest and which regions perform the highest, what would you guess? Let me know in the comments. While you're doing that, what I'll say, and if you've watched any of these videos, you know I talk a lot about sales to investment ratio, and you want to see a lower investment amount to a higher average sales amount. We want to typically see around 2-to-1 for retail or store-based locations. Dunkin' Donuts, out of some of the other top brands like Taco Bell and Popeyes and Jersey Mike's, they actually have one of the better sales to investment ratios that I've seen, particularly for some of the inline units, right? The average cost, if we take the median number, is somewhere around $800,000 or $900,000 to get like an inline unit built and up and open. And so if you're looking at averaging about $1.3 million in sales, that's about 1.5 sales to investment ratio. Some of the other ones had less than a 1. Some had only a 1-to-1. Really, we're looking for 2-to-1, but still, that's definitely one of the better numbers. And generally speaking, I think beverages can be very, very popular. Like the cost of coffee, think about it. Think about how cheap it is to make coffee as opposed to sandwiches. So the lowest performing region at $953,000 in average sales is actually what they call the Southwest South Central region. I have no idea what that is because they don't really explain what those regions are, but clearly it's in the South. So that's interesting to me. That I guess, I don't know, maybe when it's cold out or when it's hot out, people don't want hot coffee, but they have a ton of iced coffee too. So I really don't get it. But to stick to that thought process, the top performing region is the Northeast, New England region, with average sales of about $1.4 million. So that must show that, hey, when it's cold out, people want a nice hot coffee. So if you stayed until the end, you probably enjoy these sort of videos where we talk about the startup costs and the earnings and just interesting points around these popular franchises. And right here, you can go watch a whole playlist where we've broken down other franchises that you see every single day, and we break them down in the same way. So go check that out and make sure to subscribe before you go. We'll see you on the next one.